Hello, this is Revenge by James. Stick with the story, and don't disappear after. I'd love to hear what you think down below. I had just walked in the door with my promotion letter, Director of Operations at the plant in Trenton, when Kara leaned against the door frame in that matching wellness set she insisted was on brand. She looked like she was waiting for the moment to drop, and when she opened her mouth, she made sure the foyer heard her loud and clear. "I'm done funding your dead weight," she said, like she was proud of it. I was still setting out charcuterie for her mother's Sunday visit, but my hands froze. The noise buzzed in my ears. I couldn't even focus on the sliced prosciutto. "Separate accounts. Today," she added, like this was some kind of ultimatum she'd been practicing. "What's mine is mine." We split everything down the middle. Immediate. She was waiting for me to argue, to fight back, to give her something to use, but I just nodded. Okay. Her eyes flickered. She hadn't prepared for that. I glanced around the kitchen, my kitchen, the one I'd remodeled last year, the walnut shelves I'd built on weekends, the induction range I put on my card, the butcher block I oiled every month. And in the back of my mind, the thought lingered. 8 years of bills I'd paid while she posted breathy captions about resilience under filtered sunsets. "Good," she said, clearly trying to make it sting. "Maybe you'll finally learn discipline." Then she was off, on her way to some content shoot she'd said was collab-based, which I knew meant I'd be picking up the tab later. I sat at the table, opened my laptop, and started pulling statements. 8 years of checking accounts, savings, credit cards. Her accounts were like a revolving door, swiping and disappearing. Mine, an anchor. I downloaded PDFs, sorted them by year, and watched patterns form, steady as a mechanic hearing a bad bearing. I knew what it meant. I was a goddamn workhorse. By the time I finished the first pass, mortgage, insurance, taxes, utilities, groceries, her studio lease, gear, retreats, I named the file proof_ledger_Neil.xlsx. I backed it up on cloud, a thumb drive, and my old external hard drive. I don't lose receipts. Documentation beats speeches every time. I color-coded 8 tabs by year, watching the numbers line up like they were always meant to. It wasn't a story I'd let myself say out loud, but the numbers didn't care. They were right there, staring at me like facts that didn't need a defense. Year 1, I covered $56,800. Kara added $6,900. Year 2 was $62,400 from me, $5,100 from her. It didn't flip, not once. I ran the total. My side, $512,000. Hers, $39,500. I was at 92%. She was at 8%. And I was the one called dead weight. I turned to her wellness brand ledger. That one hit like a brick. Her studio lease on Broad Street, $1,950 a month. 26 months. $50,700 gone for a pivot that never panned out. The refresh of her website with a videographer cost $3,400. A lighting kit, ring lights and all, $2,100. Flights for retreats to Sedona, Asheville, Tulum, $5,600. The so-called community events, which were just catered mixers, another $4,300. Revenue, a handful of classes, a couple of energy sessions, and brand shoutouts that barely scraped together $3,850 over 18 months. I added up the handyman work I never talked about, adjusting doors, fixing garbage disposals, swapping out deck boards. Neighbors paid me $40 to $80 each time, in cash, which just went into the grocery fund. Then there was the invisible stuff I couldn't even mention. Snow blowing both our driveway and the neighbors 4 winters straight, cleaning gutters, oil changes on both cars, re-caulking the tub, hauling mulch, fixing her studio's thermostat at 11 p.m. When she couldn't call a guy, I created a new tab called House Operations for the hours I spent just keeping this place running. Yard work, 3 hours, repairs, 2, cooking and groceries, 5. I do weekday dinners because I'm home first. Cleaning, 3. Bills and paperwork, 1. That's 14 hours a week on a slow week. I figured it out. $35 an hour for labor, which is less than a decent handyman gets. That added up to $2,030 a month before I even touched a wrench. Then I listed our auto pays, the stuff I fund. Mortgage, $2,780. Property taxes, $392. Insurance, $138. Electric and gas, $296 in shoulder seasons, $428 in winter. Internet and streaming, $164. Garbage, $36. Water, $82 per month on average. Groceries, about $720 when we're not hosting. Her auto pays, a premium fitness club at $279 a month. 2 subscription boxes, $58. A social media scheduler, $32. And a kombucha of the month. Yes, I'm serious. $24. I printed it all out. 40 pages of cold, hard numbers. I used red tabs for the big ticket items. Then I set it all down on the buffet, like an offering or maybe just a reality check. I wasn't angry. I was tired. Monday morning, I brewed coffee for 1. I packed my lunch in silence, left Kara's organic snacks in the pantry without replenishing. Let her handle her own probiotics today. At 7:10, she wandered in, hair up in a messy bun. Her travel tumbler held out like it was a daily expectation. "You didn't brew the dark roast?" she asked, her voice more curious than annoyed. I didn't look up. Separate accounts, separate coffee, grinders there. She didn't say anything, just stood there for a second, then walked out. I could almost hear her processing the shift. By noon, I was sitting in the car, going over the numbers again. I made a forward spreadsheet, a true 50-50 breakdown. Everything she'd asked for. Mortgage, $2,780. Her half, $1,390. Taxes, average $392. Her half, $196. Insurance, $138. Her half, $69. Utilities, average $296. Her half, $148. Internet streaming, $164. Her half, $82. Trash, $36. Her half, $18. Water, average $82. Her half, $41. Yard guy, April-October, $140. Her half, $70. Running, total, $2,014 a month, not counting groceries, fuel, or her own subscriptions. I set up an auto message for Venmo requests. No drama, just business. Your half of electric gas due Friday. Thank you. I hit send. Polite, simple, straightforward. Wednesday afternoon, the first payment hit. $148 for utilities. I could feel the annoyance radiating through the phone when I saw the blank memo attached to it. She texted, "Seriously? It's just heat." I replied, "Your half of heat and lights." Same as mine. The money arrived 10 minutes later. No follow-up. No apology. Just the bare minimum. By Friday, I'd canceled 3 auto pays from my account. Her studio's dormant software, her premium fitness club, and that damn kombucha subscription. The last one wasn't even a choice. I wasn't funding some made-up wellness trend anymore. When she came home that night and saw the changes, she looked at me like I'd just set the house on fire. "My brand needs consistency," she said, voice tight. "So does the mortgage," I shot back, not missing a beat. Saturday morning, I took down the last thing I hadn't touched, her emergency card on my Amex. I cut it clean in the garage, then taped the pieces to a note. "We each cover our own now." Evelyn had texted me Thursday, asking if I'd make roast and potatoes for Sunday lunch. For 8 years, I'd done that dance. Braise early, carve late, smile through her comments about how fortunate I was to have a daughter with vision. I didn't play along this time. I texted back, "We're on separate finances now. I won't be cooking, but you're always welcome." Saturday night, I heard Kara fiddling around in the kitchen, trying to copy my roast setup from a YouTube short. I kept my mouth shut, sat with the dog, and listened to the smoke alarm go off. She dumped the pan into the sink like it had insulted her personally, muttering under her breath. 20 minutes later, she was whispering into her phone, ordering catering from a bistro 2 towns over. I did the math by smell, easily $160, maybe more, plus delivery. From her card, we'd see. Sunday at noon, I was outside pruning the Japanese maple when Doug and Marisol, the couple from next door, walked up. Doug's home office shares a wall with our kitchen, so they had heard every word. Everything good? Doug asked, half smiling. Yeah, I said, trimming a low branch. Just doing the math right. He nodded, like he knew exactly what that meant. At 12:58, I washed up and came inside. The table looked nice enough. She'd pulled out the good plates, folded napkins just so, but the takeout bag from the bistro sat unopened on the counter. Evelyn walked in at 1:03, dressed in perfume and pearls, gave Kara a quick hug, and immediately scanned the kitchen for the roast aromas she's come to expect from me. Her smile fell flat. "What's this?" she asked, pointing at the catering bag. Kara's voice took on that defensive edge. "We're modern. We support local business." Evelyn's eyes slid toward me, like she could smell a story that wasn't adding up. I wasn't about to let it slide. "I stopped cooking for free after we split finances, Evelyn," I said. "We're doing 50-50. Bills and labor." Evelyn blinked once, twice. She looked at the fridge where I'd posted my house ledger on a magnetic whiteboard. The columns were neat, due date, total, and each person's half. I'd color-coded it for clarity. Next to Kara's column, a yellow box for mortgage, labeled unpaid. Another for water, unpaid. Electric was paid after reminder. Evelyn stepped closer, opened the fridge, and I could see her taking it all in. My side was clean, meal prep chicken, vegetables, labeled leftovers. Milk that wasn't expired. Her side, though, a bottle of probiotic soda, 3 energy drinks, wilted microgreens, and a box of catering plates from last weekend. Evelyn didn't gasp. She let out a sound, a sharp, full-body scream like a fire drill from the 70s. It shot straight out the open window, so loud I swear the entire block froze. Marisol peeked over the fence. Mr. Hartley from across the street stopped mid-walk, shaded his eyes like a baseball fan watching a hit. I set the binder on the island. Evelyn grabbed it like casework, flipped to the summary, then the studio lease tab, with dates and my account number highlighted. "Am I reading this right?" she asked quietly. "Over 8 years, you paid $512,000, and Kara contributed 39 and change?" She looked at Kara. "Is that correct?" Kara's voice was high, defensive. "He makes more than me. It's natural." Evelyn's voice went thin, like she was holding back. Natural isn't 92%. She flipped through the pages, past the premium club fees, the retreats, the brand photographer, and all the other excesses. "How much did your business bring in?" she asked Kara. Silence. I couldn't help myself. 3,850 total, before costs. The catering sat there, sweating. Evelyn closed the binder with a snap. She turned to Kara. "Kara Lee," she said, using her full name, tone sharp. No room for negotiation. "You demanded separate accounts from a man who has been paying almost everything, and you called him dead weight?" Evelyn pointed toward the fridge and the overflowing trash can. Last night's scorched potatoes and a ruined carrot still sitting there. "This is how you treat someone who keeps your lights on?" Phones were already out on the sidewalk. The Maple Ridge group chat lit up like wildfire. Evelyn put a hand on my arm. Her voice softened. "I'm sorry, Neil." She turned back to Kara. "I'm staying at the Fairfield. When I come back, you'll be ready to talk about fairness with numbers, not captions." Evelyn walked out through the silence, a kind of hush that you could feel in your teeth. The neighbors stepped back like a tide parting. The door clicked behind her, and the weight of it all hung there, thick. Kara stood there, staring at the door. Then, finally, she turned to me, her voice tight, raw. "You planned this." I looked at her, steady as I could be, and said, "No, I just stopped hiding it." The Maple Ridge group chat was like a siren going off. Doug posted, "Everything okay at 2:14?" Heard a shout. Marisol chimed in. "Not domestic and more like truth got loud." And someone uploaded 4 seconds of Evelyn's scream with a caption, "When receipts hit the table." I don't like drama. I'm not the guy who shows up in a neighbor's backyard to explain myself. But I wasn't about to crawl under the porch while everyone else pretended they didn't see what they saw. Kara's phone started buzzing like a cicada on crack. Her wellness followers dipped from 2,140 to 1,762 overnight. The comments were coming in so fast I couldn't read them all. "Pay your husband back. Wellness starts with fairness. Girl, this is not empowerment." She deleted the comments fast. But you know how it goes. Screenshots always outpace shame. By the time I made it to work Monday morning, it was already out of her hands. She Venmo'd me $1,390 that day with a memo that said, mortgage half. No emoji, no note, just a transaction. My phone dinged again with the usual auto paychecks. $82 for internet, $196 for taxes, $41 for water. The money showed up, but you could taste the resentment in the silence. Fine. Resentment's not a meal I'd order, but if it gets the bills paid, I'll take it. I changed my morning routine that week, brewed 1 mug of coffee, packed my own lunch, and left Cara a note. It was simple. No snark, no edge. Just a number for the community center's basic cooking class on Tuesdays. I figured it might help. I didn't expect her to pick up on it right away. When I came home 2 days later, the brochure was gone. That night, I slid a fresh copy of my spreadsheet into a manila envelope and tucked it under the printer. Not for the neighbors. For me. For when my head starts trying to rewrite history at 2 a.m. For the times I'd start second-guessing myself. Numbers don't beg. They just sit there, quiet, until you're ready to act. And I wasn't about to forget the truth this time, no matter what came next. The first month on True 50/50, Cara learned what a water heater sounds like when it's angry. At 6:12 a.m. on a Tuesday, my phone buzzed with a message, no hot water, fix it. I didn't even look up from my coffee when I texted back at 6:18, there's a reset on the side. If it needs a part, we'll split the cost after we split the diagnosis. She didn't like that. I could hear her fidgeting, and then the silence broke with a click. She watched a video, hit the reset switch, and the heater sighed back to life. I almost smiled into my coffee, but I didn't. I wasn't sure what was harder, learning to let go of the small things or realizing she'd have to deal with them now. A few days later, the Premium Fitness Club emailed her about a paused account. She came at me with that familiar edge, a quiet plea wrapped in frustration. I need that for my mental health, she said, voice tight. I didn't blink. I texted back, so do I. Then I added, see you at the community center, $28 a month. Her response was silence, but I could almost hear the thought, really? Midweek, she posted a story. Learning boundaries is brave. I couldn't help but laugh under my breath. The next one came shortly after. Some men can't handle strong women. I didn't respond, not because I didn't want to, but because I was done with the games. Instead, I left a printed budget on the fridge, a simple sheet with line items, due dates, and a hand-drawn arrow next to hers. It was clear, no drama. Brave is paying your own half, on time. She must have seen it because later that night, she burned garlic trying to saute greens, setting off the smoke alarm again. I stood up, turned off the alarm, and said the thing my father told me in 1983. Garlic waits, oil doesn't. She made a face, but she moved the pan over, and dinner didn't taste like ash. Small win. Friday night, she slid an envelope across the table to me. I opened it slowly. Inside was a schedule from a therapist, Dr. Leland. I'm going Mondays at 3:30, she said, her voice low, not looking at me. He's making me write down what I do all day and who benefits from it. I nodded. Good. Keep at it. My voice was steadier than I thought it would be. I didn't feel anything spectacular, but the truth was, this was the first time in a while I wasn't pretending to be someone I wasn't. And if she kept working, if we both kept working, maybe we'd be able to find something worth saving. But for now, I just watched her sit there, the air between us still thick. 2 weeks in, Evelyn stopped by to return a casserole dish I didn't even remember lending her. She stood in the doorway, the same way she had the first time I met her, sizing things up. Her eyes went straight to the tape still running down the fridge, the yellow strips I'd put up to divide our side from hers. That's blunt, she said, her tone steady. I didn't look away. It helps. She nodded once, slow, like she was processing it. I prefer blunt. It leaves fewer shadows. I didn't say anything else. Evelyn wasn't the kind of person who needed to be told twice. She could see the changes. She didn't need the speech. Cara had picked up a modest shift at the community center front desk. $17 an hour, 20 hours a week to start. I could tell she hated the polo shirt, the fluorescent lights, the low pay. But the checks cleared, and that mattered more to her now than a grid of curated squares on Instagram. She stopped asking me to spot her, just until Friday. No more, I'll pay you back when the brand picks up. It wasn't about her hustle anymore. It was about her showing up. One night, she came home with a printed recipe and asked if I'd show her how to roast a chicken without drying it out. I kept my face flat, showed her the basics: salt early, leave it alone, don't trust time, trust the temperature. She didn't touch her phone once. She actually wrote it down. I watched her. She was learning. Slowly. The Maple Ridge chat moved on, as it always does. Winter potholes. A possum in somebody's garage. But when I walked the dog, I felt the shift. The glances were different. Not pity, not gossip. Just a nod, a little more weight behind their eyes. Doug, standing by his mailbox, gave me a quick nod. "You're doing right," he said, and then he went back to fixing the post. That's the kind of conversation I can stand. No words wasted. Doctor. Leland had Kara list household value tasks. She showed me her first attempt, her hand shaking slightly as she slid it across the table. The list was empty. "I didn't know what counts," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't hesitate. Paying bills counts, cooking counts, cleaning, remembering, planning, fixing, showing up without making someone ask twice. She looked at the paper like it burned her fingers. Slowly, she started writing. Her pen moved in jagged lines, the weight of what I'd said settling into her bones. Maybe it hurt. Maybe it needed to. That Friday, an envelope came in the mail, addressed to both of us. I didn't open it right away. When I did, it was from Evelyn. The letter was brief, written with the same clear, no-nonsense style she'd always used with Kara. "I failed you by praising presentation over partnership," it read. "I will not do that again. Going forward, I will measure my daughter by the weight she carries unprompted." I put it in the binder next to the red tabs. The binder had become something else over the last few weeks. A record, a mirror, a seatbelt. 3 months stretched into 4. Kara paid her halves on the 15th for 3 cycles in a row, without me having to remind her. She even sold 2 ring lights, a box of resistance bands, and a massage gun to cover a missed water bill. I didn't ask how it felt for her, and she didn't ask how it felt for me. But we were steady. Not sweet. Steady. She stopped buying subscription powders and energy drinks. Instead, she ate the stew I made on Sundays that lasted until Wednesday. Simple meals, no flair. But she was there for it. I was there for it. Then she asked about couples therapy. The first time, I said no. The second time, I said not yet. The third time, I said, "Find someone who won't let either of us dance around the word abuse. I'll go then." She didn't flinch. The next night, she emailed me the name of a therapist. Dr. Meyer, Power Dynamics Specialist. I picked a time 2 weeks out, at Dr. Meyer's office. I did something men my age don't like to do. I said the thing that had been sitting in my chest for years. I felt invisible in my own house. Kara didn't argue. She just looked at the floor, and then she said, "I called him lazy. I made posts about independence while asking him for gas money." Dr. Meyer didn't flinch. He just nodded. "Accountability is a verb," he said. "Keep moving." Kara was quiet for the rest of the session, but something had shifted. I could feel it in the way she stopped looking at me like I was the enemy. I wasn't sure if it was enough, but it was something. Afterward, Evelyn started coming by with Tupperware. Actual food this time. Not the "look at me, I'm a gourmet" kind, but the real stuff. She'd hand me a container and say, "You take the first ladle." Then she'd sit down, ask me how my plant was handling over time, how the dog was, how the plant was doing. She listened, not to check off a box or perform, but because she cared. I could feel the difference. You learn to feel the difference between a question and a check mark. One quiet Saturday, I took down the painter's tape on the fridge, the dividing line we'd used to keep score, and replaced it with 2 printed lists. My jobs and her jobs. Practical stuff. Mine, bills, car maintenance, yard, structural repairs, dog mornings. Hers, groceries week 2 and 4, weeknight dinners on Tuesday and Thursday, bathrooms every other weekend, dog evenings. I posted the lists, signed both. It wasn't romance. It wasn't even an attempt to get back what we'd lost. It was a contract we actually followed. That night, we ate at the same table. Our shoulders weren't up anymore, tense and ready for a fight. After dinner, Kara said, "If you decide to leave later, I'll understand." I looked at her. "If I decide to stay, it'll be because you showed up. Not because I forgot what happened." She nodded, and we cleared the plates together. No speeches, no excuses, just the sound of dishes clinking. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible in my own house. 6 months after Evelyn's scream, she came by at noon with a pie and no expectations. Kara had a bird in the oven, salted hours earlier, thermometer in the thickest part where it belongs. The house smelled like butter and rosemary instead of panic. I set the table simple. No performance, just mismatched napkins and the salt we actually use. Nothing polished, nothing forced. We ate, and it was honest food. Kara didn't brag. I didn't rescue. We just sat together. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable, just steady, like we had finally learned how to be with each other in a way that didn't require any show. Evelyn raised her glass of water and said, "To math, to kindness, to work, you don't photograph." Nobody answered with a speech. We just clinked our glasses and kept eating. The quiet didn't itch anymore. After dinner, Kara and I stood shoulder to shoulder at the sink, drying dishes. "I'm not the person I sold online," she said, her voice small but steady. I didn't hesitate. "I'm not the ghost I let myself become." We kept drying. Small thing, big thing, same thing. Later, I walked the dog down Maple Ridge. Doug was out front, fixing his mailbox. He wiped his hands on his jeans and looked at me as I passed. "That wind never quits," he said. "Nope," I replied, and we both grinned because we weren't talking about weather anymore. Back home, I opened the binder and slid in 2 new pages. 6 months of her on-time halves. A snapshot of the list on the fridge with both of our signatures. Proof of something else. A different kind of evidence. I don't know if we'll stay married in 5 years. What I do know is I'm not financing anyone's persona again. I don't cook for people who call me names. The revenge, if you want to call it that, was simple. I made the ledger public in a kitchen with a window, and I kept my life on paper where spin can't live. Evelyn's scream did the rest. It pulled the neighborhood to the glass and made the truth stick. These days, when I brew coffee, I make 2 mugs if she bought the beans and 1 if she didn't. That's not romance either. It's respect with receipts. If we make it, it'll be because we learned to measure by work and care, not filters and spin. And if we don't, I'll leave with my head up and my binders zipped. Either way, I'm not invisible in my own house anymore.